They told me I had 6 months to live. Stage 4, pancreatic cancer, inoperable, untreatable. A death sentence wrapped in medical jargon and sympathetic looks from doctors who had seen this story end the same way 1,000 times before. But that was before the night everything changed. Before I met someone, something that shouldn't exist. Before I was healed in a way that defies every law of medicine and physics that we know. My name is Joe Wills. I'm 58 years old. I live in a small town in New Mexico called Cloudcroft, and what I'm about to tell you will sound impossible, insane even. But every word is true. And the strangest part, the healing wasn't the miracle. What came after? What this being showed me about the true nature of Christ, about the power that's been hidden from us for 2,000 years, that's what changed everything. I'm going to tell you exactly what happened, but I need to warn you. This information comes with a price. It will illuminate parts of your life you've never understood, but it will also cast shadows on everything you thought was true. If you're ready to hear something that will challenge every religious teaching you've ever received, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Because what happened to me in the high desert of New Mexico will open your eyes to a truth that's been buried since the time of Christ himself. Now, let me tell you how it all began. March 14th. That's the day my life ended. Or at least, that's what I thought. I'd been feeling off for months. Stomach pain that wouldn't quit, weight dropping off me like I was melting, exhaustion so deep that getting out of bed felt like climbing a mountain. My daughter Sarah finally dragged me to the doctor. "Dad, you look like a ghost," she'd said. "You're going, and I'm not taking no for an answer." Dr. Patterson ran tests, lots of tests, blood work, CT scans, and MRI, and then he called me into his office with that look. You know the one, the look that says, "I'm about to destroy your world, and there's nothing I can do about it." "Joe, I'm not going to sugarcoat this," he said, pulling up images on his computer screen. "You have pancreatic cancer, stage 4. It's spread to your liver and lymph nodes." I remember staring at the screen, at the white masses that looked like clouds on the scan. Those clouds were killing me. "How long?" I asked. My voice sounded strange, distant, like it belonged to someone else. 6 months. Maybe 8 with aggressive treatment. "But Joe, I have to be honest, the treatment will be brutal and it might only buy you a few weeks." Sarah was crying. I could hear her, but I couldn't look at her. I just kept staring at those white clouds. "What if I don't do treatment?" I asked. Dr. Patterson sighed. "Then maybe 4 months. But you'd have a better quality of life. No chemo sickness, no hospital stays. You could spend your time with family." I chose no treatment. What was the point? 4 months of feeling relatively okay, or 6 months of being poisoned while I died anyway? The choice seemed obvious. That night, I sat on my back porch looking up at the stars. I'd lived in Cloudcroft for 30 years, and I never got tired of the night sky. Out here, away from city lights, you could see everything. The Milky Way stretched across the darkness like a river of light. "God," I said out loud, "I don't know if you're listening. I've prayed my whole life. I've been faithful. I've tried to be a good man. And this is what I get? Cancer? 4 months to live?" No answer. Just the wind through the pine trees and the distant howl of a coyote. "I'm not asking for a miracle," I continued. "I know that's not how it works. I just want to understand why. What was the point of any of it?" Still nothing. I went inside, took a sleeping pill, and tried not to think about the fact that I'd just had one of my last 120 nights on Earth. 3 weeks later, I was still alive, still feeling like garbage, but alive. Sarah had moved back home to take care of me. She'd quit her job in Albuquerque, packed up her apartment, and showed up with suitcases and a determination that both touched me and broke my heart. "Dad, you're not doing this alone," she'd said. I'm just here. Until I die. That's what she couldn't say. The pain was getting worse. Dr. Patterson had prescribed morphine, but I hated taking it. It made me foggy, disconnected. I wanted to be present for whatever time I had left. On April 7th, I couldn't sleep. The pain was too intense. I'd taken morphine at 10 p.m., but by 2 a.m. I was wide awake, my abdomen feeling like it was being torn apart from the inside. I got up, careful not to wake Sarah, and went outside. Sometimes the cool night air helped. Sometimes just being under the stars made the pain feel smaller, less significant against the vastness of the universe. I walked out past the house, past the shed, into the open desert. The moon was nearly full, casting everything in silver light. I could see for miles, the rolling hills, the scattered juniper trees, the mountains in the distance. And then I saw something that didn't belong. A light, not a star, not a plane. Something else. It was hovering about a mile away, maybe 2. Silent, perfectly still. A soft blue-white glow that pulsed gently, like breathing. I stood there, morphine-addled brain trying to make sense of what I was seeing. A helicopter? No. Too quiet. A drone? Too big. Weather balloon? Wrong shape, wrong movement. And then it started moving. Toward me. My first instinct was to run back to the house, but something stopped me. Maybe it was the morphine. Maybe it was the fact that I was dying anyway, so what did it matter? Or maybe it was something else. A feeling. A knowing. This was meant to happen. The light came closer. Closer. I could see now that it wasn't just a light, it was a craft of some kind. Smooth, oval-shaped, about the size of a small car. It made no sound at all as it descended, stopping about 20 feet in front of me, hovering 3 feet off the ground. I should have been terrified. I should have been running. But I wasn't. I just stood there, watching, waiting. A section of the craft opened. Not like a door, more like the surface just became permeable, creating an opening where there hadn't been one before. And someone stepped out. Not human. Definitely not human. Tall, maybe 7 feet. Slender, almost fragile looking. Skin that seemed to shimmer between silver and pale blue. Large eyes, but not the black almond-shaped eyes you see in movies. These were more human-like, but the color was wrong. Violet. Deep violet, with flecks of gold. We stared at each other, human and whatever this was. And then it spoke. Not with a mouth. I don't think it had a mouth in the traditional sense. The words just appeared in my mind, clear as if someone was standing next to me speaking. "Joe Wills, you are in pain." It wasn't a question. "Yes," I said out loud, my voice cracking. "I'm dying. I know, I can feel it. The corruption in your cells. The breakdown of your physical form. Can you help me?" I don't know why I asked. It just came out. The being tilted its head, studying me. "I can. But there is a cost." My heart sank. Of course there was a cost. There was always a cost. "What kind of cost?" I asked. "Not money. Not servitude. Not your soul, if that's what you're worried about." There was something almost like humor in the telepathic voice. "The cost is knowledge. If I heal you, you will understand things that most humans are not ready to understand. You will see reality as it truly is, not as you've been taught to see it. And once you see, you cannot unsee. Many humans find this disturbing. I thought about it for maybe 3 seconds. I'm dying anyway, I said. What do I have to lose? Your comfortable illusions, your certainty about how the world works, your faith in the institutions that have shaped your understanding of God. My faith in God or my faith in religion? The being stepped closer. There is a difference, Joe Wills. A profound difference. And that difference is what I will show you. Then do it, I said. Heal me, and show me whatever you need to show me. Very well. But understand, this is not magic. This is not supernatural. This is simply the application of laws that your science has not yet discovered. Laws that the one you call Christ understood perfectly. Christ? You know about Jesus? We have been watching your species for a very long time, Joe. We were watching when he walked among you. We watched what he taught, and we watched how those teachings were buried. Before I could respond, the being raised one hand. The palm began to glow with that same soft blue-white light. This will not hurt, but it will feel strange. Do not resist. The being placed its hand on my abdomen, right where the cancer was eating me alive, and everything changed. The light from the being's hand spread through my body like warm water. I could feel it moving through me, not just on my skin, but inside, deep inside, flowing through my bloodstream, my organs, my bones. It didn't hurt. The being was right about that. But it felt impossible. Like my body was being rewritten at a cellular level. Like every atom was being examined, corrected, realigned. I could see it happening. Not with my eyes, they were closed. But somehow I could perceive it. I could see the cancer cells, dark and twisted and wrong, and I could see the light touching them, and they just stopped. Stopped dividing. Stopped spreading. And then they began to die. Not violently, not with the brutal destruction of chemotherapy. They simply recognized that they didn't belong, and they dissolved, broken down and carried away by my own immune system, which suddenly knew exactly what to do. The being's hand moved to my liver. More light, more correction. The metastases there dissolved too. Then to my lymph nodes, my spine, my blood. Everywhere the cancer had spread, the light followed, and everywhere the light touched, I was made whole. I don't know how long it lasted. It felt like hours, but it might have been minutes. Time seemed strange, elastic, meaningless. And then the light faded. The being's hand lifted away, and I opened my eyes. I was on my knees in the desert sand. I didn't remember falling. The being stood in front of me, that violet gold gaze fixed on my face. It is done. The corruption is gone. Your body will need time to fully recover. You have been very ill, and healing is not just the removal of disease, but the restoration of vitality. But the cancer is gone. Completely. I put my hand on my abdomen. The pain, the constant grinding pain that had been my companion for months, was gone. Just gone. How? I whispered. How is this possible? Your body is a quantum system, Joe. Every cell, every molecule, every atom exists in a state of probability until observed and collapsed into a specific state. Disease is simply a pattern of collapsed probability that does not serve the whole. I simply encouraged different probabilities to collapse. Healthier ones. I stared at the being. That sounds like science fiction. It sounds like quantum mechanics, which your scientists are only beginning to understand. But there is more to it than just physics. There is consciousness, intention, what you might call faith. Faith? You're saying faith healed me? Not your faith. You had very little faith that healing was possible. You had accepted death. No, Joe. My faith. My absolute certainty that your body could be restored. Certainty collapses probability into reality. This is the law. This is what the one you call Christ understood and used. I tried to stand. My legs were shaky, but they held. I felt weak, but not sick, not dying. For the first time in months, I felt alive. Why? I asked. Why would you do this for me? You don't know me. I'm nobody. Just some guy dying in the desert. Because you asked. And because you are ready to understand what I have to teach you. Most humans are not ready. They cling to their comfortable lies, their victim stories, their belief that they are powerless. But you have been broken down enough that you might be willing to rebuild differently. Teach me what? The truth about the one you call Christ. The truth about the power he tried to give humanity. And the truth about why that power was taken from you. I looked back toward my house. Sarah was in there sleeping, unaware that her father had just been healed by an alien being in the middle of the desert. If I go back now, I said slowly, I'll convince myself this was a morphine hallucination, that I dreamed all of this. Yes, you will. The human mind is very good at protecting itself from paradigm-shattering experiences. It will rationalize. It will explain away. It will forget. I don't want to forget. Then come with me. Not far. Just for a few hours. I will show you things that will make forgetting impossible, and then you can return to your daughter and your life. But you will return changed. Awakened. Do you accept? I thought about Sarah, about how she'd worry if she woke up and I was gone. But I also thought about the fact that 3 hours ago, I was dying, and now I wasn't. If this being could do that, what else could it show me? I accept, I said. Then come. The being turned and walked back to the craft. I followed, my heart pounding, my mind reeling, my body feeling stronger with every step. I was about to learn something that would change everything I thought I knew about God, about Christ, about the nature of reality itself. And there would be no going back. The interior of the craft was nothing like I expected. I'd seen enough sci-fi movies to have images in my head, blinking lights, computer screens, complicated controls. But this was different. The walls glowed softly with that same blue-white light, but they weren't solid. They seemed to shift and flow, like liquid held in place by invisible force. The space was larger than it should have been. The craft had looked small from outside, but inside it felt like a room 20 feet across. There was no furniture, no seats, no obvious controls, just open space and that flowing, living light. Sit, the being said, gesturing to the floor. I sat, cross-legged, feeling surprisingly comfortable despite the lack of cushioning. The being sat across from me, folding those long limbs in a way that looked both alien and somehow graceful. What I am about to show you, Joe, is not easy to accept. Your entire worldview has been built on certain assumptions, that you are separate from God, that you are powerless without divine intervention, that salvation comes from outside yourself. These assumptions are wrong. and they were deliberately taught to keep you controllable. By who? I asked. The church? By those who benefit from your dependence. Yes, religious institutions, but also governments, corporations, any power structure that requires obedience. A human who understands their true nature is ungovernable. They cannot be controlled through fear or guilt, or the promise of external salvation. And what is our true nature? The being raised one hand, and the air between us began to shimmer. An image formed, not on a screen, but floating in three-dimensional space. Holographic, but more real than any hologram I'd ever seen. It showed Earth, our planet, blue and green and beautiful, hanging in the darkness of space. You see your world as solid, separate. You see yourself as a body, distinct from other bodies, from the planet, from the universe. But this is illusion. A very convincing illusion. But illusion nonetheless. The image zoomed in, down through the atmosphere, through clouds, down to the surface. It showed a forest, then a single tree, then a single leaf. And then it kept zooming. Into the cells of the leaf, into the molecules, into the atoms, into the subatomic particles, and then into the space between. And there was so much space. The particles were tiny, impossibly tiny, and the space between them was vast. The leaf, which had looked so solid, was actually 99.9% empty space. Everything you think of as solid matter is mostly emptiness, and the tiny bits that aren't empty, they're not really solid either. They're vibrations, frequencies, waves of probability that collapse into particles only when observed. The image shifted, showing waves of energy, pulsing, flowing, interconnecting. You are not a body, Joe. You are a pattern of vibrating energy, temporarily organized into a form you call Joe Wills. And that pattern is not separate from anything else. It is connected to everything. The air you breathe, the ground you walk on, the stars above you, all the same energy, all the same consciousness, experiencing itself through infinite forms. I stared at the image, my mind struggling to grasp what I was seeing. If that's true, I said slowly, then what is God? God is not a being. God is being itself, the consciousness that underlies all existence, the field of infinite potential from which all things arise. You call it God. Others call it Source, or the universe, or the Tao, or Brahman. The name doesn't matter. What matters is understanding that you are not separate from it. You are it, experiencing itself as Joe. That sounds like blasphemy, I said, but even as I said it, something in me recognized truth in the words. It sounds like what Christ actually taught, before his words were twisted. The image changed. Now it showed a man. Dark hair, dark eyes, simple robes. He was teaching, surrounded by people who listened with rapt attention. My breath caught. Is that? Yes, Yeshua of Nazareth, the one you call Jesus. This is a recording from approximately 2,000 years ago. How? How is that possible? We have been observing your species for millennia. We record what we observe. This moment was significant, so we recorded it. I leaned forward, staring at the image. Jesus, the actual, historical Jesus. Not a painting, not an artist's interpretation. Him. What is he saying? I asked. He is teaching about the kingdom of God, but not the way your churches teach it. Watch. The image zoomed closer. I could see Jesus' face clearly now. He looked tired but passionate. His hands moved as he spoke, emphasizing points. He is telling them that the kingdom of God is not a place you go when you die. It is not in the sky. It is not somewhere else. He is saying, the kingdom of God is within you. Inside, not outside, not in a temple, not in heaven, within. I've heard that verse, I said. Luke 17:21. Yes, but do you understand what it means? He is saying that God, the creative power of the universe, is not separate from you. It is in you. You are a vessel for it, an expression of it. And when you understand that, when you truly know it, you can do what he did. What he did? You mean the miracles? They were not miracles, Joe. They were demonstrations, applications of natural law, laws that your science is only beginning to discover. The image shifted again. Now it showed Jesus standing in front of a man on a mat. The man's legs were withered, useless. Watch what happens. Jesus knelt beside the man. He placed his hands on the man's legs, and he spoke. I couldn't hear the words, but I could see his lips moving. And then the man stood. Just stood. His legs, which moments before had been atrophied and weak, now held his weight. He took a step, then another, and then he was walking, tears streaming down his face. How? I whispered. Jesus understood that physical reality is not fixed. It is fluid, malleable, responsive to consciousness. The man's legs were withered because his cells had collapsed into a pattern of disease and atrophy. Jesus, operating at a very high frequency of consciousness, introduced a new pattern, a pattern of wholeness. And the man's cells responded. They reorganized. They healed. That's what you did to me? Yes, I used the same principle. Though I will admit Jesus was far more skilled than I am. His consciousness was extraordinary. Even among my people who have studied these laws for thousands of years, we have rarely encountered a being with such mastery. I sat back, my mind reeling. So Jesus was... what? An alien? One of your people? No, he was human. Fully human. That is what makes his mastery so remarkable. He was showing humanity what you are capable of, what you were always meant to be able to do. Then why can't we? Why can't humans do what he did? Because you were taught that you can't. You were taught that Jesus was unique. The only Son of God, the only one with power, and that you are sinners, powerless, dependent on his sacrifice for salvation. This teaching served a purpose. It created a power structure, a hierarchy. Those who claimed to speak for God gained control over those who believed they were separate from God. But Jesus didn't teach that? No. He taught the opposite. He said, "You are gods." He said, "You will do greater works than these." He said, "Whatever you ask in prayer, believe that you have received it, and it will be yours." He was trying to awaken humanity to your true nature, to your power. But after he died, those teachings were suppressed, altered, turned into something that would keep you small, keep you obedient, keep you dependent. I felt anger rising in my chest. So everything I was taught in church was a lie. Not a lie. A distortion. There is truth in your scriptures, but it has been filtered through human agendas, human fears, human desire for control. The core message that you are divine, that you have creative power, that the kingdom is within, That message is still there, but it has been buried under layers of doctrine designed to make you forget. The image faded. The being looked at me with those violet gold eyes. Joe, I healed your body, but that is the least important thing I will do for you tonight. What I am about to teach you will heal your mind, your understanding, your relationship with the creative power you call God. Are you ready? I took a deep breath. My whole life, I'd prayed to a God I thought was separate from me, distant, judging, deciding whether I was worthy of blessings or deserving of punishment. And now this being was telling me that was all wrong, that God wasn't out there. God was in here, in me. I'm ready, I said. Then let me show you how Christ actually taught prayer and why your prayers have never worked. The being gestured, and another image appeared in the air between us. This time it showed Jesus alone, kneeling on a hillside at dawn. His hands were raised, his face turned toward the sky. This is how humans think Jesus prayed, the being said, asking, pleading, begging God for intervention. But watch closely. Watch his energy. The image shifted, and now I could see something else. A glow around Jesus. Not just light, but patterns of energy flowing, pulsing, radiating outward. He is not asking. He is not begging. He is aligning. He is raising his frequency to match the frequency of what he desires to manifest. And then he is giving thanks as if it has already happened. Giving thanks before receiving? I asked. That doesn't make sense. It makes perfect sense when you understand how manifestation works. Let me show you something. The being raised a hand, and suddenly I could see myself. Not a reflection, a holographic image of me kneeling beside my bed, praying. It was from a few weeks ago, before the diagnosis. I recognized the pajamas I was wearing. I watched myself pray. God, please help me. I don't feel well. I'm scared something is wrong. Please, please let it be nothing serious. Please heal me. I watched the energy field around me. It was dark, murky, pulsing with fear and desperation. Do you see? The being asked. Every word of your prayer is saturated with the frequency of fear. I don't feel well. I'm scared. Something is wrong. You are not praying for health. You are praying from sickness. You are reinforcing the very thing you don't want. But I was asking for healing, I protested. No, you were declaring sickness and asking an external God to override it. But God, Source, does not override. It responds. It matches your frequency. You were broadcasting fear and sickness, so you received more fear and sickness. The image changed. Now it showed Jesus again, but this time before the feeding of the 5,000. He held a few loaves of bread and some fish, nowhere near enough to feed the crowd. Watch what he does. Jesus looked at the small amount of food. Then he looked up at the sky. And he smiled. Not a desperate smile. A smile of absolute certainty. And then he spoke. I couldn't hear the words, but the being translated. He said, Father, I thank you for this abundance. I thank you for providing more than enough for all who are gathered here. Not, please give us more food. Not, we don't have enough. He thanked God for abundance before the abundance appeared. And then the food multiplied, I said, remembering the story. Yes, because he was operating at the frequency of abundance. His consciousness held no doubt, no fear, no sense of lack. He knew, absolutely knew, that there would be enough, and physical reality rearranged itself to match his knowing. I shook my head. That's not how reality works. You can't just think of something and make it appear. You do it every day, Joe. You just do it unconsciously. And usually, you manifest what you don't want because that's what you focus on. The being gestured, and the image showed a rapid sequence of moments from my life. Me worrying about money, and then receiving an unexpected bill. Me thinking about how lonely I was, and then having plans with friends fall through. Me focusing on my health problems, and then getting the cancer diagnosis. Thought is creative, Joe. Emotion amplifies. Belief solidifies. This is not mysticism. This is quantum mechanics. The observer affects the observed. Your consciousness collapses probability waves into specific outcomes. When you focus on lack, you collapse probabilities that create more lack. When you focus on abundance, you collapse probabilities that create more abundance. So you're saying my cancer was my fault? I gave myself cancer by thinking wrong? Not fault. Fault implies moral judgment. I am saying you participated in creating the conditions for cancer through decades of stress, fear, negative thought patterns, suppressed emotions. Your cells responded to the signals your consciousness was sending, and those signals said, "We are under threat. We are not safe. We must protect ourselves." And some cells protected themselves by mutating, by becoming cancer. I felt something twist in my gut. Not pain. The pain was gone. But something else. Guilt. Shame. "Do not feel guilty," the being said, as if reading my mind. "You did not know. No one taught you. The knowledge was hidden. But now you know. And now you can choose differently." How? How do I choose differently? By praying the way Christ actually prayed. Not from lack, but from abundance. Not from fear, but from certainty. Not asking, but thanking. The being stood and gestured for me to stand as well. "I will teach you, right now. We will do an experiment. You will manifest something small, something you can verify quickly so that you know this is real." Manifest what? You choose. Something specific, something unlikely, something that would prove this is not a coincidence. I thought for a moment. Okay, a hummingbird. I want to see a hummingbird tomorrow, but it's early April. They don't usually show up in Cloudcroft until late April, early May. If I see one tomorrow, I'll know it's real. Good, specific, unlikely, verifiable. Now, here is what you do. You do not ask to see a hummingbird. You do not hope to see one. You do not doubt whether you will see one. You simply feel gratitude for having seen one. As if it already happened. But it hasn't happened yet. In linear time, no. But time is an illusion, Joe. Past, present, and future exist simultaneously. The version of you who sees the hummingbird tomorrow already exists. You are simply aligning with that version, collapsing that probability into your experienced reality. My head hurt, trying to understand. Just tell me what to do. Close your eyes. Take a deep breath. And feel, not think, feel the joy of seeing a hummingbird tomorrow. See it in your mind. Hear the buzz of its wings. Feel the delight of the unexpected encounter. and be grateful. Say thank you, as if it has already happened. I closed my eyes. I tried to imagine seeing a hummingbird. At first, it felt forced, fake. But then I remembered the last time I'd seen one. The iridescent green feathers, the impossible speed, the way it hovered in midair. And I felt something. A small spark of joy. I held on to that feeling. I let it grow. And I whispered, "Thank you. Thank you for the hummingbird I saw today. Thank you for that moment of beauty." It felt strange, but also right. Like something was shifting inside me. "Good," the being said. "Now let it go. Do not obsess over it. Do not check constantly to see if it worked. Just trust. Live your day tomorrow and watch what happens." I opened my eyes. That's it? That is it. Simple but not easy. The difficulty is maintaining the feeling without doubt creeping in. Doubt is the killer of manifestation. It is the frequency that says, "I don't really believe this will work, and if you don't believe it, it won't." How do I stop doubting? Through evidence. Every small manifestation builds faith. And faith, true faith, not hope, but absolute certainty, is the most powerful force in the universe. It is what Christ had. It is what allowed him to heal, to manifest, to demonstrate what humans are capable of. The being walked toward the opening in the craft. "It is time for you to return, Joe. Your daughter will wake soon, and you have much to process." I followed, my mind spinning with everything I'd learned. "Will I see you again?" "If you need to, but I suspect you will not need to. You have been given the key. Now you must use it." We stepped out into the desert. The sky was beginning to lighten in the east. Dawn was coming. Remember, Joe, you are not separate from God. You are an expression of God. And when you truly understand that, when you operate from that knowing, you can do what Christ did. You can heal. You can manifest. You can create your reality consciously instead of unconsciously. "What about the church?" I asked. "What about everything I was taught?" "Keep what serves you. Release what doesn't. There is truth in your scriptures, but there is also distortion. Learn to discern the difference. And remember, any teaching that makes you feel powerless, that makes you dependent on external authority, that makes you small, that teaching did not come from Christ. Christ came to make you large, to awaken you to your divinity." The being stepped back into the craft. The opening began to close. "Wait," I called out. "What's your name? What do I call you?" The being paused. "My name would be unpronounceable for you, but you can call me Elion. It is close enough." "Elion, thank you. Thank you for healing me. Thank you for showing me the truth." "You are welcome, Joe Wills. Now go, live, create, and teach others when they are ready to hear." The opening was sealed. The craft rose silently into the air, hovered for a moment, and then vanished. Not flew away, vanished. One moment it was there, the next it was gone. I stood alone in the desert as the sun broke over the horizon, painting the sky in shades of gold and pink. I was healed. I was awake, and I would never be the same. I walked back to the house as the sun rose, my mind reeling, my body feeling stronger than it had in months. Sarah was still asleep. I could hear her soft breathing from her room as I quietly entered the house. I went to the bathroom and looked at myself in the mirror. I looked different. Not dramatically different, but there was something in my eyes, a clarity, an aliveness that hadn't been there before. I lifted my shirt and looked at my abdomen. The skin was the same, but I knew that underneath, everything had changed. The cancer was gone. But how could I prove it? How could I explain this to Sarah, to Dr. Patterson, to anyone? I couldn't. Not yet. Not until I had evidence. I decided to wait, to see if the hummingbird appeared. If it did, if this manifestation thing actually worked, then I would know for certain that everything Elion had told me was real. Sarah woke up around 8 a.m. She came into the kitchen where I was making coffee, actually making coffee, not just sitting and staring at it like I'd been doing for weeks. "Dad?" she said, her voice uncertain. You're up, and you're making breakfast?" I scrambled some eggs, made toast. I was actually hungry for the first time in months. "Yeah," I said, smiling at her. "I'm feeling better today." She came closer, studying my face. "You look better. Your color is better. Did you sleep well?" "I did," I lied. I hadn't slept at all, but I felt more rested than I had in months. We ate breakfast together. Sarah kept looking at me like she was trying to figure out what had changed. "Dad, I don't want to get my hopes up, but you really do seem different. Stronger." "I feel stronger," I said. And it was true. After breakfast, I went out to the back porch with my coffee. The morning was beautiful. Clear sky, cool air, the smell of pine and juniper. And then I saw it. A flash of green and red. A blur of motion. The distinctive buzz of wings moving faster than the eye could follow. A hummingbird. It hovered at the feeder I'd hung last year but hadn't filled in months. It checked for nectar, found none, and zipped away. But it had been there. A hummingbird. In early April. Weeks before they normally arrived. I sat down heavily, my coffee cup shaking in my hand. It worked. I manifested it. I thought about it, felt gratitude for it, and it appeared. Which meant everything else Elion had told me was true. I wasn't separate from God. I had creative power. I could manifest reality through consciousness. And Jesus had tried to teach this, but the message had been buried. "Dad?" Sarah's voice came from behind me. "Are you okay? You look like you've seen a ghost." I turned to her. "Sarah, I need to tell you something, and you're going to think I've lost my mind." She sat down next to me, concerned on her face. "What is it?" "I'm healed," I said. "The cancer is gone." She stared at me. "Dad, that's not... Cancer doesn't just go away. Especially not stage 4 pancreatic cancer." "I know, but it's gone. I can feel it. And I need to prove it. I need to go back to Dr. Patterson and get scanned again." "Dad, please don't do this. Don't get your hopes up. Don't get my hopes up. Sometimes people feel better for a little while before they die. I know. But Sarah, I'm telling you, something happened last night. Something impossible. And I need to prove it." She looked at me for a long moment. Then she nodded. "Okay. I'll call Dr. Patterson's office. We'll get you scanned. But Dad, please prepare yourself for the possibility that nothing has changed." "I am prepared," I said. "Prepared to prove that everything has changed." 3 days later, I was back in Dr. Patterson's office, looking at scans on his computer screen. He'd been skeptical when Sarah called. "Patients often feel better temporarily," he'd told her. "It's not uncommon, but we can do another scan if it will give you peace of mind." Now he sat in front of those scans, his face pale, his hands shaking slightly as he clicked through image after image. "I don't understand," he said finally. This isn't possible." "What isn't possible?" I asked, though I already knew. "The cancer. Joe, it's gone. Completely gone. The tumors in your pancreas, your liver, your lymph nodes, they're just gone. There's no sign of them, no scar tissue, no residual damage. It's like they were never there." Sarah gasped. "How? How is that possible?" Dr. Patterson shook his head. "It's not. Spontaneous remission happens, but not like this. Not this fast, not this complete, and certainly not with stage 4 pancreatic cancer. Joe, I need to ask, did you seek treatment somewhere else? Some experimental therapy?" "No," I said. "No treatment." "Then I have no explanation. This is miraculous. Literally miraculous." Sarah was crying. She grabbed my hand, squeezing it tight. "Dad. Oh my God, Dad." I looked at the scans, at the places where tumors had been and now weren't. Elion had done this, had healed me using principles that Jesus had understood 2,000 years ago. "Dr. Patterson," I said, "what if I told you that consciousness can affect physical reality? That thought and intention can reorganize matter at a cellular level?" He looked at me like I'd grown a second head. "I'd say that sounds like pseudoscience. Like wishful thinking. But you're looking at proof. You're looking at something that shouldn't be possible according to conventional medicine. So maybe conventional medicine doesn't have all the answers." He was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "Joe, I don't know what happened to you, but whatever it was, I'm grateful. You should be dead, and instead, you're healthier than you've been in years. So, congratulations. You've been given a second chance. Use it well." "I intend to," I said. Over the next few weeks, I practiced what Elion had taught me. Every morning I spent time in what I started calling gratitude meditation, feeling thankful for things I wanted to manifest as if they'd already happened. And things started changing. Small things at first. I'd think about wanting to hear from an old friend, and they'd call that day. I'd feel grateful for unexpected money, and I'd find a check I'd forgotten about. I'd visualize feeling energetic and strong, and my body responded, building strength faster than should have been possible for someone recovering from stage 4 cancer. But the biggest change was internal. I stopped feeling like a victim, stopped feeling like life was happening to me. I started understanding that I was creating my experience through my thoughts, my emotions, my beliefs, and I started seeing the truth in Jesus' teachings in a way I never had before. Ask, and it will be given to you. Not beg, not plead. Ask with the certainty that it will be given. Whatever you ask in prayer, believe that you have received it, and it will be yours. Believe you have received it. Present tense, not the future, not will receive. Have received. If you have faith and do not doubt, you will say to this mountain, "Be removed and thrown into the sea," and it will be done. You will say, not God will do it for you. You will say, and it will be done. Jesus wasn't teaching dependence on an external God. He was teaching us to recognize the God within, the creative power we all carry. I started sharing this with people, carefully at first. I didn't want to sound crazy, but when people asked how I'd been healed, and they did ask because word spread fast in a small town, I told them the truth, not about Elion. That part I kept to myself. but about consciousness, about manifestation, about the power of thought and emotion to create reality. Some people thought I was nuts. Some people got angry, told me I was blaspheming, that I was denying God's sovereignty. But some people listened. Some people started practicing, and some people started seeing results. My neighbor Maria had been struggling with chronic pain for years. I taught her gratitude meditation. Within 2 weeks, her pain had decreased by half. A guy from my old job, Tom, had been unemployed for 6 months. I taught him to stop focusing on lack and start feeling grateful for abundance. He had 3 job offers within a month. Sarah, skeptical at first, started practicing. She'd been carrying resentment toward her ex-husband for years. I taught her to release it, to focus on what she wanted instead of what she didn't want. Within weeks, she met someone new, someone kind, someone who treated her the way she deserved. The evidence kept mounting. This wasn't a coincidence. This wasn't a placebo effect. This was real. Consciousness creates reality. Not everyone was happy about what I was teaching. Pastor Mike from the First Baptist Church called me one Sunday afternoon. "Joe, we need to talk." I invited him over. He sat in my living room, Bible in hand, looking uncomfortable. "Joe, I've been hearing things about what you're telling people, about this manifestation teaching." "It's not my teaching," I said. "It's Christ's teaching. I'm just helping people understand what he actually meant. Christ taught us to have faith in God, to trust in his will, not to try to manipulate reality with our thoughts. Is it manipulation to use the creative power God gave us? Jesus said we'd do greater works than he did. How is that possible if we're powerless?" Pastor Mike shifted uncomfortably. Jesus was the Son of God. He was unique. We can't do what he did. He said we could. He said, "You are God's." He said, "The kingdom of God is within you." He was trying to tell us that we have the same divine nature he had, but the church has spent 2,000 years teaching the opposite. Because that teaching is dangerous, Joe. If people think they don't need God, if they think they can just manifest whatever they want— "They do need God," I interrupted. "But God isn't separate from them. God is the consciousness that flows through them, the creative power within them. Jesus was trying to help us remember that." Pastor Mike stood up. "Joe, I'm going to be blunt. What you're teaching is heresy. It's New Age nonsense dressed up in Christian language. And if you keep spreading it, you're going to lead people astray. Or I'm going to help them wake up to their true nature, to the power Christ died trying to give them. Christ died for our sins, Joe. He died to save us because we can't save ourselves. What if he died because the religious authorities of his time couldn't tolerate someone teaching people they were powerful, that they didn't need priests and temples and intermediaries?" Pastor Mike's face reddened. "I'll pray for you, Joe. I'll pray that you come back to the truth. And I'll pray that you discover what the truth actually is," I said quietly. He left, and I knew that I'd just made an enemy of the local church. But I also knew I couldn't stop. Too many people were being helped. Too many people were waking up. 6 months after my healing, I was sitting on my back porch at sunset when I felt it. A presence, a familiar consciousness. I looked up, and there it was, the craft. Hovering silently above my property, Elion. The craft descended, landing in the same spot it had before. The opening appeared, and Elion stepped out. "Hello, Joe Wills." "Elion," I said, standing. "I didn't think I'd see you again. I wanted to check on you, to see how you were using what I taught you." I'm using it, and I'm teaching others. Not everyone is receptive, but some are. And those who are, their lives are changing. Elion approached, those violet gold eyes studying me. You have grown. Your frequency is much higher than it was. You are becoming what you were always meant to be. I still have doubts sometimes, I admitted. I still catch myself falling into old patterns, worrying, focusing on problems instead of solutions. That is normal. You are rewiring neural pathways that have been established for decades. It takes time, but you are doing well. Can I ask you something? I said. Why did you choose me? Out of all the people on earth, why heal me? Why teach me? Because you were ready. Because you had been broken down enough that you were willing to rebuild. And because you have a role to play. What role? Teacher. Way shower. You are one of many who are waking up right now. Your species is at a critical juncture. You can continue on the path of separation, fear, and destruction. Or you can remember your true nature and create something new, something better. And you think I can help with that? I know you can. You already are. Every person you teach, every person who wakes up to their creative power, raises the collective frequency of your species. And when enough people wake up, everything changes. How many is enough? We estimate approximately 10% of your population. When 10% are operating at a higher frequency, the tipping point is reached. The collective consciousness shifts, and what was once impossible becomes inevitable. Are we close? Closer than you think. There are millions waking up right now. Teachers like you, all over the world, share this knowledge in different ways. Some call it manifestation. Some call it the law of attraction. Some call it Christ consciousness. The words don't matter. The truth is the same. I felt something swell in my chest. Hope. Not just for me, but for all of us. What happens when we reach that tipping point? I asked. Your species evolves. You stop destroying your planet. You stop warring with each other. You start creating consciously instead of unconsciously. You become what you were always meant to be, a species of conscious creators working in harmony with the creative force you call God. That sounds like heaven on earth. It is. And it is not a distant dream. It is a probability that becomes more likely with every person who wakes up. With every person like you who chooses to teach instead of staying silent. Elion turned back toward the craft. I must go, but I will leave you with this. Do not let resistance stop you. Do not let fear or doubt or criticism silence you. The truth you carry is too important. And there are people waiting to hear it. People who are ready. Find them, teach them, and trust that you are exactly where you need to be, doing exactly what you need to do. Thank you, I said, for everything, for healing me, for teaching me, for showing me the truth about Christ. You are welcome, Joe Wills. Now go, create, teach, and remember, you are not separate from God. You are God experiencing itself as Joe. And when you truly know that, nothing is impossible. The craft rose into the air. This time, I watched it go, watched it accelerate and vanish into the darkening sky. And I knew I would never see Elion again. I didn't need to. I had everything I needed. It's been 2 years since that night in the desert. 2 years since I was healed. 2 years since I learned the truth about Christ and consciousness and the creative power we all carry. My life is unrecognizable from what it was. I'm healthy, vibrant, more alive at 60 than I was at 40. I've written a book about my experience, not about Elion, but about the principles of manifestation and how they align with Christ's actual teachings. Some people call me a heretic. Some people say I'm spreading dangerous lies. But thousands of people have read the book. Thousands have started practicing, and thousands have seen their lives transform. Because this isn't about me. It's not about Elion. It's about a truth that's been hidden for 2,000 years. You are not separate from God. You are an expression of God. And when you understand that, really understand it, you can create your reality consciously. You can heal, you can manifest, you can do what Christ did, not because you're special, because you're human, and humans were designed to be creators. The church won't teach you this. They can't. Because people who understand their power don't need institutions. They don't need intermediaries. They become free. And freedom is what Christ died trying to give us. So I'm going to ask you the same question Elion asked me. Are you ready? Are you ready to let go of comfortable lies and embrace uncomfortable truth? Are you ready to stop being a victim and start being a creator? If you are, start small. Start with gratitude. Every morning, spend 5 minutes feeling grateful for what you want to manifest, as if it's already happened. Feel the emotion. Let it fill you, and then let it go. Trust. Don't obsess. Just trust. And watch what happens. Watch as synchronicities appear, as opportunities arise, as your life begins to shift in ways you never thought possible. This is not magic. This is not wishful thinking. This is the application of natural law, laws that Christ understood. Laws that quantum physics is now confirming. Consciousness creates reality, and you are conscious. So what are you going to create? Leave a comment below. Tell me if this resonates. Tell me if you're ready to try. Tell me about your own experiences with manifestation. And if you want to go deeper, if you want a step-by-step guide to applying these principles in your own life, I'm writing a comprehensive course. It will be available soon. The link will be in the description. But you don't need to wait for the course. You can start right now, right this moment. Close your eyes. Think of something you want, something specific, and feel gratitude for having it. Feel it as if it's already real. Do that every day for a week, and watch what happens. Because you have more power than you've been taught, more power than you can imagine. And it's time to remember. It's time to wake up. It's time to become what Christ was trying to show us we could be. Conscious creators, divine beings, children of God who finally remember who they are. Are you ready? Then let's begin.